Would you consider it to be a spoiler if I said that the final boss in Final Fantasy XVI was a god or some all-powerful deity that the main character takes down with the power of friendship? Or would you turn towards me and say that that's the plot of every Final Fantasy that came before? The purpose of this question is to point out that there is an established formula, and it's a specific deviation from this formula that made Final Fantasy XVI stand out to me. It happens during the fight against Ultima. Ultima will use abilities of icons he claims are for the purpose of his sole benefit, and Clive will counter with the same iconic ability, with the remembrance of someone who placed their faith in him. And we've seen this before, right? Some of us many times. Usually, this scene is done with all of the party members fighting alongside each other, speaking on their own about their personal convictions from a perspective unique to themselves. That's the classic JRPG experience, from Final Fantasy games older than I am, all the way to modern JRPGs standing at the forefront. Final Fantasy XVI did something different. Here, it's just Clive. I think what it wants to say is that even if the voices are from people who aren't present, even due to death, their faith still has power to overcome one set fate. I think that's the message of Final Fantasy XVI because Joshua says this himself.
So absorbed was he in his own desires, so driven by his own will alone, that he shunned the one thing that could have made him truly powerful. Faith. The same faith people now place in you. Faith that you will fulfill their dream, Sid's dream, of creating a better world for us. Faith that you will follow in Father's footsteps and save those who need saving most. Faith that you will answer Jill's plea to save yourself. The difference is, Clive, that you chose to listen. And that is what has steeled our bonds.
Then, after punching God, dying on a beach, and going through the credits, it ends with the text, "A farewell to fate." But was this a farewell to fate? Pardon me for stating the obvious, but Final Fantasy XVI is a video game. The story is not experienced on its own. It is told through the medium of an action RPG with only one playable character. The experience of one will either restrict or enhance the other. A simple example of this relationship is the icon menu. A player can deduce the amount of icons obtainable in the game by looking at the space provided, then adjust their expectations of the story to come accordingly, like who is the next big bad or roughly how many acts there are in the game. And going through the game conditioned me to certain expectations for the story. Clive solos a boss fight, with the exception of Torgal, accumulates new godlike powers, and ventures off to solo another big bad. While Clive will have teammates fight alongside him in some battles, their impact is minimal. In fact, the game will not allow Clive's allies to finish a fight. Their ability to assist Clive is limited in favor of ensuring the enemy slain UI pop-up is in sync with the final action of the player. Think about what this means. In order to prioritize the experience of the player, Clive is the only one who can ever win a fight. This feeling can extend to the rest of the game. Sometimes it feels like Clive is the only one capable of anything, with the span of things only he can do ranging from collecting soil for a fruit tree all the way up to punching God. I know that feeling is different from the actual truth. Jill is the only one who can render just judgment onto Imrian, Gav rescues Clive and Jill from captivity under Hugo, Joshua holds onto Ultima to stop him from taking over Clive, and Mididol leads construction on the Enterprise. There are many more examples in the story, but the game is still an action RPG with one playable character, and when it's time to face off against any antagonist, the supporting cast will fall back, getting injured, preoccupied, or only providing a modicum of support. And this pattern persists. Jill, I'm gonna need your help here.
Nice try.
Like, thanks for the arena. I am now not burning in lava because of you. I don't want that to go unappreciated. But If you could just send an icicle his way. Please. Here, like this, like this. Just like that. You can freeze him like that, alright? This is your power, Jill. You can do this. You have to carry this expectation to the battle at Orsion. Joshua and Dion join Clive in an icon battle against Ultima Prime, and here is an example of the JRPG moment I was describing before. They all shout their convictions at Ultima, then unleash a combined attack called Tri-Disaster, instantly deleting Ultima's health bar and momentarily blinding my eyes. Then Ultima kills Dion and breaks Joshua's body, seemingly unfazed by the attack. A one-on-one fight then begins with Clive, where the scenes, dialogue, and game UI make clear that Ultima is multitudes more powerful than he was even a moment ago. As someone who is invested in Joshua's and Dion's stories, I kept flipping between two perspectives. Does Dion die because this is a heart-wrenching tragedy about being unable to free oneself from the burden of a great sin? That despite the horrors he caused, there were still those that wanted to see him live and build towards a better future. Does Joshua forego the power which keeps him alive because this is a story about having the power to fulfill the faith others have placed in you? Or do they die because this is an action game where there's only room for player one and their boss fight? I suppose there is a second perspective. There are certain characters in other games that feel like they're tagging along despite their story ending, them having nothing left but their stats and abilities to contribute. Final Fantasy XVI isn't constrained by this because there is no need to keep other characters in a one-man party. I don't know if the story is constricted because of the gameplay, or if the message that the faith people place in you has power, even through death, is only made possible through this game's system. But what I do know is the feeling I have, that Final Fantasy XVI left me alone. Then the DLCs came out, and Rising Tide changed the tone. I'm a little biased towards Rising Tide. I enjoyed the locale the most, it introduced fun enemies. Clive gets Tsunami, just listen to how hardcore it is. The Timekeeper is a blast to fight against, and most importantly, Shula became my favorite supporting character. Most of Clive's relationships are either about family bonds from his childhood, or about his position as the new Cid. When he talks to Shula, who is also a community leader, it comes across as them sharing their experiences. Clive is able to connect to Shula as his current self. It's a relationship formed because of who Clive is, and not what he is. And yes, the battle against the Timekeeper and Leviathan also have the other characters fall back so Clive can do the fighting. But the context felt different. In the main game, enemies are taken down because of the threat they pose. Take down Benedicta, take down Hugo, take down Barnabas. Every problem is a nail. Even Ultima, and Clive is the ultimate hammer. But the Rising Tide is different, because Leviathan isn't a nail. It's Wallius, a lost child. The dynamic is no longer side characters giving support for Clive to finish the job. Instead, it's Clive using his power to give Shula the opportunity to do something only she can do as family to Wallius.
Now, we make things right. How? By providing Wallius what he was denied. A place to learn and grow. A family to love and protect him. So that one day, when the wounds in his heart and mind have finally healed, he might decide for himself how he'd like to live the rest of his life. But until then, I'll stay by his side, come what may.
Then he's a lucky boy.
For me, this is what most reflects what Joshua says. This is how Clive listens, saves those who need saving, and helps to create a better world. In a game where my set expectation was to see Clive reach ultimate power as Mythos while his allies fall behind or die, watching him step back in knowledge that his role was secondary was a true farewell to fate. Thank you for watching.